A story like Black CEO denied boarding in first class until he makes a call and shuts down the airline carries a powerful message about dignity, discrimination, and the strength of influence that comes with perseverance and success. It begins with an image that is unfortunately familiar to many. A successful individual, despite his achievements and status, is treated unfairly simply because of preconceived notions and bias. The Black CEO, who has worked tirelessly to earn his position at the top, finds himself questioned at the airport while attempting to board a first-class seat he rightfully paid for. Instead of being welcomed as any passenger should be, he is doubted, insulted, and denied entry. This moment highlights the painful truth that prejudice often overlooks credentials, wealth, or achievement, reducing someone to a stereotype rather than recognizing their full humanity. The initial humiliation he faces is not just personal. It reflects a broader societal issue where success in marginalized communities is often met with skepticism rather than respect. For the CEO, it is not about the seat alone. It is about the principle that he is being denied his rightful place, simply because others assume he does not belong there. Many watching or listening to such a story can relate deeply, because discrimination is rarely about small acts alone. It is about the way those acts reinforce a message of exclusion. This CEO, however, decides not to react with anger in the moment, but with calm control, choosing to demonstrate his power in a way that leaves an unforgettable lesson. The turning point of the speech is when he takes out his phone and makes a call, not to a lawyer or to a friend, but directly to high-ranking contacts that immediately recognize his worth and authority. Within moments, the airline staff realize they have underestimated the man standing before them. What seemed like just another passenger was actually someone with influence, someone who could hold the company accountable for its actions. The phrase, "shuts down the airline," does not just mean operationally. It symbolizes how the tables are turned when the truth of who he is comes out. The same people who mocked or dismissed him now stand corrected, embarrassed, and humbled in the face of their mistake. This story delivers a deeper message beyond the shock of the outcome. It reminds us that respect should not be reserved for those who appear wealthy, powerful, or famous. It should be extended to every person as a matter of basic human dignity. The CEO's response teaches that true power lies not only in financial or social influence, but in the ability to stand firm against injustice without losing composure. His victory is not just for himself, but for everyone who has ever been told they don't belong, who has been underestimated or mistreated simply because of their background, race, or appearance. At the heart of this motivational speech is the idea that resilience and excellence are the greatest weapons against prejudice. The CEO didn't allow the insult to define him. Instead, he allowed his success and self-control to speak louder than any discriminatory act. For audiences, this story inspires courage to rise above mistreatment, confidence to know your worth, and determination to never let others' small-mindedness shake your identity. The lesson is clear. No matter what barriers society may try to put in your way, success and dignity can dismantle them, often in ways that leave lasting impact. The humiliation turned into empowerment, and the denial of respect turned into a moment of justice. That is why this story resonates deeply. It is about turning pain into power and proving that true strength is unstoppable when it is fueled by perseverance and integrity. Confronting discrimination in this story is a powerful reminder of challenges that still exist in society, no matter how successful or accomplished a person may be. The title presents a Black CEO being denied boarding in first class, not because he lacked the ticket or the resources, but because of the assumptions made about him based on his appearance and identity. This reflects how prejudice can persist in spaces that should operate on equality and fairness, such as airlines, where every passenger should be treated with respect regardless of their background. Discrimination in this context is not just a personal insult. It is a symbol of a larger problem that affects many people who face unfair treatment simply because of who they are. The CEO's experience shows that even those who have worked their way up to positions of power and influence are not immune to bias. And that speaks volumes about how deep-rooted these issues remain. This moment of discrimination also highlights the painful reality of being judged by superficial factors instead of one's achievements, values, or humanity. A first-class ticket should mean the same for everyone, access to the same service, comfort, and respect. Yet the denial shows how stereotypes can strip people of dignity and recognition. For the CEO, it is not just about being told he cannot board. It is about the reminder that society can still place limits on him based on his skin color rather than his merit. This kind of treatment is a wound that cuts deeper, because it questions identity and belonging, forcing individuals to confront the fact that no level of success can fully protect them from unfair judgment. Another important aspect is the silence of bystanders in situations like these. Often, when discrimination happens publicly, many people witness it but choose to remain quiet. This silence adds to the pain because it feels like the injustice is being accepted or ignored. In the case of the black CEO, the refusal to let him board was likely witnessed by others. But the real turning point came only when he used his influence and voice to address the wrong. This shows how important it is not just for victims to confront discrimination, but for others to recognize it and take a stand as well. Discrimination flourishes when it is tolerated or overlooked, but it begins to crumble when it is challenged and exposed. The act of confronting discrimination also requires courage, because responding to such treatment is not easy. Some people may choose to walk away, not wanting to create a scene, but doing so often allows the injustice to go unchallenged. In this story, the CEO shows that confrontation does not have to mean shouting or aggression. It can be handled with dignity and firmness. By calmly refusing to accept mistreatment, he sends a message that respect is not negotiable. His decision to make a call and use his authority to shut down the airline demonstrates the power of standing up for oneself, not just for personal satisfaction, but as a lesson to others that discrimination will not be tolerated. Finally, this confrontation exposes the fragility of systems that allow prejudice to exist. When the CEO uses his status to demand accountability, it shows that organizations must be more mindful of their actions and the biases of their employees. The humiliation he endured turns into a wake-up call for the airline, forcing it to recognize the consequences of discrimination. In this sense, confronting discrimination is not only about personal justice, it is about creating change that benefits others in the future. The story becomes bigger than one man's struggle. It becomes a symbol of resilience, strength, and the demand for equality. By refusing to accept mistreatment quietly, the black CEO turns a painful moment into a lesson in justice, reminding everyone that respect is a right, not a privilege. The power of influence is central to this story, and it becomes even more meaningful because it shows how authority can be used not for personal gain, but to stand against injustice. When the black CEO makes a call after being denied boarding in first class, it shifts the entire balance of the situation. At first, the airline employees may have assumed he was just another passenger, someone without the ability to challenge their decision. Their mistake was underestimating him based on stereotypes, and when he revealed his true influence, it exposed how wrong and damaging their assumptions were. Influence in this case is not only about wealth or status. It is about the ability to correct a wrong and make others realize the consequences of discrimination. The CEO's call was more than a reaction. It was an assertion that he would not allow disrespect to define him or to go unchecked. This moment also highlights the reality that power, when used correctly, can change perceptions and force accountability. Many people face discrimination daily, but lack the resources or authority to respond effectively. They are often left humiliated and powerless in situations where they deserve better treatment. The difference with the CEO was that he had built a position of respect and control, and by exercising that, he turned the tables on those who tried to belittle him. His call symbolized a refusal to be silenced, and it carried the weight of his success and reputation. The same employees who denied him might not have thought twice about dismissing another passenger, but once his influence was made clear, they were forced to recognize not just their mistake, but the unfairness of their behavior. This power dynamic is what makes the story resonate, because it reveals how bias collapses in the face of truth and authority. The story also underlines that influence can serve as a lesson for others. When the airline faced consequences, it was not just a punishment for one employee's poor judgment. It was a reminder for the entire system to reevaluate how it treats people. Injustice thrives when it goes unchecked, but when someone with influence challenges it, others are forced to take note. The CEO's actions may have inspired bystanders, employees, and even viewers of the story to reflect on their own behaviors and attitudes. His power was not just personal. It rippled outward to create change that could prevent future acts of discrimination. Influence in this way is not about flaunting superiority, but about using one's position to teach a larger lesson that respect must be universal. Another key point is how influence reshapes dignity. Being denied boarding in first class was a humiliating moment, one that attacked the CEO's identity rather than his ability to pay for or deserve his seat. By using his influence, he reclaimed that dignity and showed that no one has the right to strip it away. Many people in his position might have walked away quietly, but his decision to act demonstrated that influence is not just about status. It is about the courage to defend one's worth. His calm but decisive response sent the message that respect is not negotiable, no matter who you are. Influence here becomes a shield, not only protecting him from humiliation, but also proving to others that standing tall in the face of disrespect is possible. Finally, the power of influence in this story reflects the broader theme of resilience. The CEO's journey to success likely required years of overcoming challenges and breaking barriers. When he faced discrimination, his response was not fueled only by anger, but by the strength built through his experiences. His influence was the product of resilience, and using it in that moment was both a personal victory and a broader act of defiance against prejudice. The lesson is clear. True influence is not measured by wealth or titles alone, but by the ability to stand against injustice and turn moments of weakness into symbols of strength. Through his actions, the CEO showed that influence is not about proving superiority, but about demanding equality and justice in a world that still struggles with bias. The theme of respect for dignity lies at the very core of this story, because it demonstrates how human worth cannot be measured by superficial standards such as appearance, skin color, or assumptions about status. When the black CEO was denied boarding in first class, the act itself was more than just a refusal of a seat. It was a denial of his dignity. It suggested that no matter how successful he was, society was still quick to judge him based on prejudice. Yet the way he responded to that humiliation revealed an even deeper truth. Dignity is not something others can take away, It is something that a person carries within and asserts in moments of challenge. His calm and powerful response was not about revenge or anger. It was about reclaiming the respect that every human being deserves. Respect for dignity means acknowledging someone's value without conditions, and this story illustrates how often people fail at this. The employees at the airline treated him with arrogance, assuming he did not belong in first class. That assumption stripped him of the courtesy that should be extended to any passenger, regardless of who they are. But when the truth came out, and they realized his influence and position, their attitude instantly changed. This change shows how fragile respect can seem in a world shaped by stereotypes. Many people only respect power or wealth, rather than the basic dignity of a person. What makes the CEO's response so significant is that he reminded everyone involved that dignity should not be conditional. It is not about status, not about titles, not even about how much someone has in their bank account. It is about recognizing that every person is deserving of respect simply because they are human. The story also reflects how dignity, once challenged, can be reclaimed through strength and composure. The CEO did not raise his voice, argue loudly, or create chaos in that moment. Instead, he made a single call, a calm, deliberate act that revealed his authority and turned the entire situation upside down. This was not just about proving a point, but about protecting his self-worth. By refusing to let the airline's treatment define him, he showed that dignity is about knowing who you are and standing firm in that truth. Many people who experience discrimination may feel powerless, but his actions show that maintaining composure and responding with intelligence can be the strongest way to demand respect. Dignity is not loud or boastful. It is quiet strength that cannot be ignored. Another layer of this story is how dignity impacts those around us. When bystanders or employees witnessed the CEO's transformation from just another passenger to someone who commanded authority, they were forced to confront their own behavior. Respect for dignity is not only about how one person acts, but about the lessons it teaches others. The humiliation he endured became a mirror for those who mistreated him, forcing them to see the ugliness of their prejudice. In that sense, the CEO's act of reclaiming dignity became larger than himself. It served as a teaching moment for everyone present. True dignity has that ripple effect. It inspires change in others and reminds people of the importance of fairness and equality. The broader lesson is that respect for dignity is not optional. In society, people often forget that dignity is a universal right, not something reserved for the wealthy, powerful, or influential. The CEO's experience is symbolic of countless others who do not have the same ability to stand up for themselves. It is a reminder that every act of disrespect, no matter how small it seems, is an attack on human dignity, and that cannot be tolerated. His response teaches us that the greatest way to demand respect is to never compromise on your own sense of worth. Whether in the face of prejudice, discrimination, or humiliation, dignity becomes the anchor that keeps a person strong. The CEO's story makes it clear that dignity is the one thing no one can truly strip away unless we allow them to. And when we stand firm in that belief, we inspire others to do the same. The point about transformation of attitudes is one of the most striking aspects of this story, because it shows how quickly perceptions can change when truth comes to light. At the beginning of the situation, the airline employees looked at the black CEO and made a judgment that he did not belong in first class. Their actions were rooted in bias, assumptions, and perhaps even a sense of superiority. They saw him not as an accomplished man who had earned his seat through success, but as someone who was out of place, someone they could dismiss without a second thought. This attitude was not only disrespectful, but also dehumanizing, reducing him to a stereotype rather than treating him as an individual. But as soon as the truth about his position, power, and influence was revealed, the same people who mocked or denied him suddenly shifted their behavior. The arrogance melted into fear. The dismissiveness turned into forced politeness, and the disrespect was replaced by scrambling attempts to correct the mistake. That instant change reveals a deeper truth about human nature. Many people are quick to treat others based on perceived status rather than inherent worth. Their respect was not genuine, it was conditional, and it came only after they realized they had underestimated him. This transformation of attitudes highlights how shallow and fragile such respect can be when it is tied only to power or reputation. This shift also exposes the hypocrisy in society. People often say that everyone should be treated equally, yet in practice, respect is too often reserved for those who are wealthy, influential, or visibly successful. The CEO's experience shines a light on this uncomfortable truth. Before making that phone call, he was dismissed as unworthy of being in first class. After the call, he was seen as someone untouchable, even intimidating. What changed was not the man himself. He was always successful, always deserving of respect, always dignified. What changed was the perception of others. This teaches us how superficial many attitudes are, and how easily people's behavior can shift when they realize the value or power of the person in front of them. Another powerful layer of this transformation is the impact it has on the people who witnessed it. The employees were forced to reflect on their behavior, likely feeling regret, shame, or embarrassment for how quickly they judged someone. That moment becomes a lesson, not just for them, but for everyone watching. It shows how wrong it is to look down on others, because you never truly know someone's story, their struggles, or their achievements. The transformation of attitudes becomes a moral reminder that respect should never depend on wealth, appearance, or social standing. It should be given freely, without condition. This change in perception also demonstrates the power of presence and authority. The CEO did not need to argue or humiliate the employees in return. Instead, his calm phone call and composed manner did all the work. By holding his dignity, he allowed their own biases to be exposed. When attitudes transformed, it wasn't because he shouted louder, but because his quiet strength forced them to see who he truly was. That is what makes this story so meaningful. The transformation of others' attitudes was a direct result of his self-control and confidence in his own identity. On a broader level, the story mirrors the experiences of many who are underestimated or judged unfairly. It speaks to the universal truth that attitudes can shift once people realize they were wrong, but it also challenges us to question why it takes success or authority for someone to receive respect. The transformation of attitudes in this story is a reminder of both the flaws in human behavior and the power of integrity to reveal those flaws. Ultimately, the story teaches that while attitudes of others may change suddenly, the true strength lies in maintaining dignity, no matter how others perceive you. That consistency not only transforms the moment, but also leaves a lasting impression on everyone who witnesses it.